Steve, I think the planets have aligned again. Last time we were talking about tariffs, and then we had some good news out of that. And then this weekend,
Yep.
just as we scheduled this interview for immigration, there is now a pause on hospitality and other industries when it comes to immigration enforcement. What is your reaction to that?
Well, look, I think, Rick, at the start, let me just say this. Look, I really appreciate the opportunity to visit about this particular topic. I know it can get mired in politics very quickly, but I want to explicitly state as we start out, we're not approaching this from a political standpoint. This is about economic growth. This is a bipartisan issue, thinking about how we grow our economy going forward and acknowledging just where we are today and thinking about how that moves forward. So, the news that came out about the pause on immigration deportations when it comes to leisure and hospitality, there are roughly, Rick, 4.6% of our entire labor force, 171 million in our labor force. Roughly 5% of that is undocumented immigrants. But when you get to some sectors, and leisure and hospitality is one of those, think that's hotels and restaurants, agriculture and construction, you're talking 10 to 14% of those labor forces made up of undocumented immigrants. Those are numbers that you just look at it and go, man, if we get overly aggressive with this deportation policy, those are industries that can't operate. That's too much of their labor force that you're taking out of the mix. So I think that at some point, not unlike the tariffs when we talked about some coming up with some reasonable outlook on what we're doing on tariffs, we're going to need to do the same thing from an immigration standpoint. And at its base, Rick, the reason for this is that if you just look at our organic demographic trends, how fast our population is growing, that growth rate has been slowing for years. And according to the Congressional Budget Office, it looks like it will go negative over the next 10 years. We're talking about a declining labor force. That just is not going to be a scenario where we can have the type of economic growth that we're going to want to have on a go forward basis. So it's a huge challenge for us, Rick, but I'd also say this is the biggest opportunity for us to come up with a cogent immigration policy that in the end is better for all of us and better for the economy from a growth standpoint going forward.
So let's say all of them are gone. Does that trigger a recession, or do things get more expensive because Americans have to have these jobs, or both? Or
I would say yes to, but the possibility of both is there. And maybe a stagflationary environment would be a better way to put that. Look, Rick, we're already just at 4.2% unemployment. So it's not like there's a lot of slack in the labor force where these jobs are available that other or these workers are available that could take these jobs. So here's what we think would happen potentially is you shrink the labor force. That increases the competition for workers that are here. As competition increases, you probably see wage pressures start to increase. As wage pressures increase, that drives inflation a bit higher. As inflation goes higher, the Fed's going to respond with higher interest rates. That's not a good type of a scenario that you want to have happen. And again, this would be something that this is a decision for policymakers. Look, Rick, I would agree, hope we could all agree that we don't need other countries' criminals in our society. We got enough homegrown criminals to worry about. But when you're talking about people that are in the labor force, they are part of the output capacity of our economy. I have trouble figuring out how those are necessarily the problem that we're trying to solve. It is true that immigration, legal immigration, has been a key part of the growth of our economy over time. Immigrants come to this country. They do the types of labor that you and I and our parents might have done, but they did it to put us in a position to do something better, which has been the magic of the economy in the U.S. for years. But we've got to have that base level of labor in our economy. And just as we think about moving forward, if we would remove all of the immigrants from the workforce, that would really put a damper on our growth prospects and probably slow economic growth and increase inflation at the same time. Not necessarily a good outcome.
is this the same problem we talked about when we talked about China last month, where some of these are jobs Americans don't want? I mean, sub minimum wage, no benefits, long hours. Are we in this? Are the Chinese jobs the same as some of these immigrant jobs?
Well, it's interesting, Rick. A lot of these jobs we're talking about, these are not sub-minimum wage jobs, and these are not jobs without benefits. A lot of these are jobs that have benefits that pay 25, 60, $75 an hour, but they tend to be manual labor, outdoors, hot, cold, maybe something a little bit more dangerous. They don't require a college degree. It's not sitting in an air-conditioned office like you and I are at the present time. These are the types of jobs that are difficult to fill. Look, we know from a basic industry standpoint, Rick, we need HVAC expertise. We need welders. We need plumbers. We need electricians. These are the types of careers, and maybe we've, as a country, overemphasized the importance of a four-year college degree as the way to get ahead. There's probably an opportunity for us to rethink about our labor force, not just for domestic labor force, but also how immigrants fit into that. But really, what we were talking about with China and some of the the manufacturing jobs, those were not value add positions. We don't need the jobs like sewing T-shirts in the United States. But I think that's a big difference as we talk about immigration. These are jobs that are absolutely vital to our economic future. And so, again, I think this is where, man, there's just such a huge opportunity for our leadership in Washington rather than sitting here maybe arguing about both sides. And it's, the answer is not wide open borders and it's not deporting everybody. But man, there's a lot of room in the middle there where we could come up with that cogent immigration policy and have that really be better for all of us. Redefine what a documented worker might look like, what a new program to get these people a pathway into the labor force. And I would just mention as an aside, Rick, when we talk about the size of the labor force and the aging of our population, we're getting into the real crux of the matter with our entitlement programs. Think Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. As our population ages, we need more workers in that workforce to help support those entitlement programs going forward, too. So I think for all of us, as we sit here today, this isn't an issue that we can ignore. This isn't an issue that we say, oh, that's not going to impact us. It's going to impact every one of us. And we need to think carefully and about how we move forward. There's a path to move forward, though, that's better for all of us.
I know you kind of talked about, we've transitioned away from some of these jobs over the years, but because it's been so long since that transition, are they so interwoven into the fabric of America that it's going to get uncomfortable if we do this the wrong way?
I think it will get uncomfortable, and it'll get uncomfortable pretty quickly. We'll start to see it. Our favorite restaurants that we go out to eat, if they don't have enough staff, hotels when we're wanting to travel and take vacations, they don't have the staff to take care of the facilities the way that they had. And honestly, if you talk to business leaders like I do in the construction business, the inability to fulfill contractual obligations. Just think about all the road construction and stuff that we all like to, we complain about when we see it, but we certainly like the outcome when the roads and everything are better. If we start taking action that lengthens that period or puts it where those types of jobs can't even be completed, that's where we'll all feel it, Rick. That's not to say that's the only people that are involved in those areas of our economy. But again, we're talking about a percentage of the labor force there that we will notice it if we get overly aggressive with deportations.
Steve, anything else you'd like to mention? I'm running out of time. I appreciate
Rick,
your time.
Yeah, thank you. And look, here's the thing. This is an opportunity for us. We remain more optimistic than pessimistic. But here's where I would encourage all of us, be in contact with your leaders, encourage them to make the right steps. Let's do this the right way. If we do, the future of our economy and the reason people want to come to this country is because we offer an economic future that is so much better than much of the rest of the world. I want to keep that intact, and that's what we all want to have intact as we think about moving forward. Thank you, Rick.